Hello and welcome to another episode of Goal Horns and Fight Songs. I am Wes, or Painted Bronco on Twitter, and it's my co-host Mike, also known as on Twitter at Maro04. And we had a really good weekend of playoff hockey.
A lot of fun series.
Yeah, I mean, kind of it was. I mean, it was pretty predictable, kind of a lot of the outcomes. However, this was the first time since I think I saw 2016 where the all four series ended in a sweep.
That's a little bit surprising, especially in the first year of the conference. But um, this year it was surprising that all of them ended in a sweep. In my
Yes.
opinion.
Yeah, no, for sure. There was a lot of close games, or at least series that I thought were going to be closer. Um, but I think I kind of predict. I think I got my predictions right, other than your series going 3 games. So I did pick all the right winners. Um, and did have Denver, North Dakota sweeping. Did say Western was going to win 2 games in a row. I just wasn't sure if we were going to get the first one on Friday or not, and we were able to do that and swept Omaha as well. So
Yeah, and the only one that I got wrong was St. Cloud winning in three. I thought Cloud was gonna take two, but I knew it was gonna be close either way. And the second game ended up being very, very close.
yeah, I had Duluth in 3 winning 1 in 3. So kind of figured that wasn't knew St. Cloud was going to respond really well on Saturday. Wasn't sure how UMD was going to be able to handle it, but both of our series did have a little bit of extra hockey in that we had overtime games on Saturday.
And that was worth it. I didn't care who won. I was like, I'm getting a little extra hockey right now.
Right?
I mean, I cared a little bit, but I'm like, well, then Sunday I get a chance to watch a third hockey game if St. Cloud wins.
So let's go. I want to go over at least our series, kind of game by game. Um, and we'll start. We can start with your Friday game if you want to, because I
Yeah,
think I think your Friday was kind of the unexpected game in that you guys being Minnesota Duluth kind of took control of the game early, held control throughout the entire game. Is kind of the gist that I got of it.
yeah, it was a dominant performance. St. Cloud had no answer. Kobe Bender ended up with the hat trick, and um, it just most of the play was down in the St. Cloud end for most of the game. They didn't really generate pressure. They weren't getting St. Cloud wasn't getting support on the puck. Uh, we just looked a lot faster. It was 1-1 at the end of one, um, which was to be expected. We went up early, or well, not super early, but we went up, and then towards the end of the period, St. Cloud scored, and then I can't remember exactly who it was, but they took a penalty right at the end of the period. Um, and as I was walking down, St. Cloud pulled up an early 2-1 lead early in the second off the power play goal. After that, I know it was number 3 for St. Cloud. He took two, just one might have saved a goal. The other was just a bad penalty. UMD scored twice on that, and it was all over from there. Um, Third period, not much going on, just dominance by UMD and playing smart hockey, not taking dumb penalties. But yeah, it was just a dominant performance, and the boys looked like they were having fun out there. St. Cloud just looked, not to rip on Miami, but they looked kind of like a Miami would against UMD.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. But I just brought it up. So James was the one who took the cross-checking minor at 20 minutes of the first period, and I don't know if you noticed this or not, but looking at it, Kobe Bender actually had a natty hattie.
It was the Natty Hattie. Okay, I
with
was
a power play goal in the middle. But yeah, he scored 3 straight goals to tie the game and then retake the lead.
and it was
So
kind of funny to watch because no one quite knew. And then I was like, oh wait a minute, he had the hat trick. And then from the UMD section off to my right, you see one stocking cap make its way down, and it barely got over the boards. And they noticed it at the last second, but they were going to drop the puck with the hat still on the ice, and I was kind of hoping for that just to see what they'd do.
but
But that was fun to see, especially for your team. Any playoff hat trick is fun to see, but
oh, for
especially
sure, and especially when you can get one at home, which we were able to do on Friday night. But yeah, so Kobe Bender scored with 2 goals, 30 seconds apiece from each other,
mm-hmm.
and then about 7 minutes apart from between 2 and 3. So
And for both games, St. Cloud didn't have Rennick in the net. It looked like he was sick with some sort of bug. They didn't say exactly what it was, but they were their backup goalie played solidly. I don't fault him for. I think maybe one goal he could have stopped, but from my vantage point on the end, I was thinking the pass was going to go to his left, my right, and passed it back right to Bender for his hat trick goal. He got over it just when he didn't get over quite quick enough, but I thought he played solidly. I heard some St. Cloud fans saying, well, we don't stand a chance if this guy's in net. And it was kind of like, no, he was playing just fine. It was the rest of the team taking dumb penalties. And
yeah, including a 5-minute major for charging in the third period.
yeah, in the third. And looking at the replay, I did, since they weren't showing it in the arena, I pulled up NCHC TV and watched the replay on that. And I think he hit more of the boards than our guy. I don't think it was worthy of a major, but that's what they called. They reviewed it, and that helped kill a lot of time in the third period. That was about 8 minutes to go in the third period.
Did they call the penalty on the ice, or was it one of those where they think there might have been a penalty, so we're going to review it afterwards? It can only be a major or no penalty at that point.
No, they did call the penalty on the ice.
Okay.
Yeah, the arms went up right away, so it wasn't where it could only be a major.
Because I think that'll come into play later, and we'll talk about that when we go to the preview of next series. But that whole thing, like, I don't understand that situation where you don't call a penalty on the ice, but you can review for a penalty. But when you review it, it can only be you can only assess a major, or there's no you can't assess a penalty at all. And it seems like it's the most ridiculous thing. Either there has to be a penalty called on the ice at the time, or you missed it and it's not a penalty and continue play no matter, like, whether it's a positive outcome or a negative outcome. Like, there's some lengthy reviews on this stuff too when they're doing that.
And I think it was 2019, the last series of 2019. Maybe it was 2020 before everything shut down. I can't remember. UMD was playing up in St. Cloud though, and there was a hit. There was no penalty called. I think it was right before overtime, and they reviewed it and they said it was a major, and it blew my mind. I don't know how you can upgrade it to or just do a major if you missed the call on the ice. Rule.
I don't understand that rule at all. They either need to figure out how to explain it better, or they need to just get rid of it. And I'm on the side of just getting rid of it. It does nothing. It wastes time. You don't understand the penalty. You don't understand what they're reviewing. They literally just go, the previous play is under review, and they go, oh, there's no penalty on the play. If it's a situation where they can't assess the minor, or they literally just come out and say, oh, it's a 5-minute major for whatever. And no one knows where the play, like, where that penalty was in the play, or even if it should have, like, was something. It clearly didn't take enough focus from a fan for even, like, them to, you know how when a fan thinks they see a penalty and they clearly, like, you know, the whole section will go, hey, what's going on? Like, there's not even any of that most of the time when they call these things. So, like, no one knows what's going on.
Yeah, it's something that, and that's another thing that they need to do a better job of, is communicating. I know the NBA, they have changed this, and they have their microphone, and they now, instead of just walking over to the commentators and explaining, they literally turn on the microphone and explain what they're reviewing, exactly like when it was and what they found, in detail. And the NHL needs to take note of that. They're okay with it, but the NCHC, they it's we're reviewing it, and then
Yeah.
you don't see it, you don't know anything of what's going on.
It's literally the call on the ice is the previous play is under review. Okay, are you reviewing offsides? Are you reviewing a high stick? Are you reviewing a goal that may have gone in that you didn't call on the ice? Are you reviewing a potential penalty? Like, what are you reviewing? And it's not only like the fans or the coaches that are kind of annoyed with this, but like even just the broadcast teams have mentioned it. Like, what are you looking at? Why is this now something that's reviewed? And how can you either have a major or no penalty at all? Like, it's the weirdest thing.
Yeah, I don't understand that rule at all.
I don't know that it really came into effect this weekend, thank God, but there was like a 4 weekend stretch where they were calling, like, they were reviewing multiple things a game, and it's like, what is going on? Why is the first period 15 minutes longer than last night? And last night we had like a legit half-hour period one. Like,
Yeah. And it's one thing, like if it's a goal, no goal, potentially, like if they hit the pipe and you're not sure, then yeah, I can understand. There was a situation on Friday night where I think it. I'm trying to remember if it was goal or no goal. But they hit the pipe and then it blew dead, and then it was like, we're gonna review it, and everybody knew
yeah.
what it was just from the angle. But yeah, they need to get better at that.
So Western also had a hat trick scored on Friday night. Ours was not a natty hattie, and we had a little bit more excitement over. I don't know if you want to call it excitement, but there was definitely some chest clenching going on this weekend for Bronco fans. Sophomore Luke Granger opened the scoring 3:45 into the game on a beautiful 2-on-1 situation that was created from the defensive zone. He took the pass from his line. I think it's our second. No, it's our third. They're our third line. Our third line stepped up super big in game one. But he took the pass from Chad Hillebrand and just absolutely buried it behind the goalie. And then, we took a silly penalty, which allowed Omaha to tie it up. Omaha went 1 for 2 on the power play, so we definitely limited their opportunities, which is good, because Western does have a tendency of getting out and giving up a lot of penalties, and in the playoffs, that's something you absolutely can't do. But we did give up 2 kind of quick goals in the later half of the first period, so it was 2-1. We were down heading into the second. The second was just a lot of back and forth play. No one really had any real good, clean opportunities. No scoring going on in the second. The goalies were doing goalie things. There was one sequence where somebody from Omaha got down, bounced the puck off the. Brandon Bussey made an amazing stop. Western gets the puck back, goes down the other ice, or the other side of the ice, and Isaiah Seville makes an equally incredible save. And it was just like these 2 goalies just stood on their head for 20 minutes and kept everything out of the back of the net. And then in the third period is really kind of when Western was able to take over and pull away. So Granger tied it up almost 8 minutes in, and then he was able to pick up his third goal a little bit later. And so a funny story, if you check out our after game review thing, like after the post game show that they usually post on YouTube from the actual like WMU Bronco page, there's a really funny story about Josh Pasalt's parents doing a fun thing for the university in the student section, and they made these styrofoam hats, and he goes into greater detail, but Literally, like the second the third goal went in, every single one of them was thrown onto the ice, as well as like most of the rally towels that were given out that night. So a lot of stuff for the ice crew to pick up after Granger's third goal, and then Frank was able to bury the empty netter, not only sealing the game for us, but giving Brandon Bussey his 4th assist on the season. So he's a goalie with 4 assists and 4 shutouts this year.
Put him on the wing.
But yeah, and also I think Josh Basalt got up to, I think, 8 points, and I think he had another point in Saturday's game, which gives him 9 playoff points, all of which are assists.
That's
He has yet to score a goal in the playoffs, but has collected 9 assists. And then we can briefly touch on the other games of the weekend. I believe Denver. I want to say Denver did not keep it close with Miami at all.
no, it was 5-2 and 5-1.
Yeah, both games were pretty handily. Handily won. I don't think Miami had a lead in either game at any point. Which, I mean, the way Denver had been playing at home, that outcome was kind of expected. And Denver's been a top scoring offense all year. So, you're going to have to bring your A game, and even find an A+ game if you're Miami.
And I remember looking up in between periods, and at the end of 2, Denver was on Friday night. At the end of 2, Denver was only up 2-1 on Miami, which kind of surprised me. Actually, Miami might have been ahead. I'm trying to think of which game it was that the guys in front of me commented on. But I when I saw it, Denver was up 2-1 after.
Miami might have scored first in one of them. Let's see.
I think they might have scored first on Friday.
Yeah, they scored first Friday and had a lead for a total of 4 minutes before Denver put up 4 straight. 2 on the power play, 2 on 5 aside. Miami got one late, or about halfway through the third, and then Denver scored a late empty netter to make it 5-2.
5-2. The other series, though, North Dakota and CC.
Dude, both of those games super close. I think both were 2-1 finishes, and
Yep.
I think they both kind of played out the same way, though. I think UND had a lead early. Colorado College came back to tie it, and then just couldn't really seem to get over the hump to keep the momentum and find a way to win. But, I mean, they definitely didn't give up it by any means.
And I think that'll help them going, especially the kids that are going to return next year, knowing that, hey, we only lost 2. Yeah, we got swept. But we only lost 2-1 in each of these games against the number 2 seed in the conference.
Yeah,
we can definitely play with them. We just got to work a little harder, figure out how to get that second goal in there on them.
Exactly. So Saturday's game, Miami's actually able to score first on the power play, pretty much exactly halfway through the first period. Just a kind of, it was kind of a cheap call or a weak call. Like to me, it didn't really seem like the call was there. But it is what it is. The calls are going to get made. You still got to find a way to kill them off, and we just weren't able to do it. So Miami got out to a quick lead. Western answers back later on the power play themselves. This time it's freshman Max Sasson, and this is where Josh Basalt picks up his 9th assist in his playoff career, which I think was his 3rd or 4th of the weekend as well. So he had a really good weekend as far as assists go. Later in the period, actually not much after we get our power play goal, Omaha goes up 2-1 on another power play goal and closes out the first period once again up 2-1. So Western has some work to do. but Omaha scores first again in the second period. And really from that goal on, it's all Western. Western found an extra way to kick it up, and the downside is I sit on the end where we shoot twice, and literally every goal from after the first goal was scored at the other end. So I'm like peering around people and like figuring out, is that over the line? Oh, it's over the line. I can cheer. Um, but we were able to get back in. Josh Pullen and Ronnie Anderd each scored 34 seconds or goals 34 seconds apart, and then Drew Warad got us our fourth goal of the night, which would most nights would have been the one to hang on and get the win. So we ended up leaving the second period up 4-3, and then again the third period kind of started out a little bit. It was chances on both sides, a lot of chasing the puck, couple penalties here and there, but really like Omaha had a really good answer to the pressure that Western was able to put on in the second period, and they were able to tie the game up right about halfway through the third. So now it's one of those moments where like, all right, you're just thinking, if we can just get to the point where they have to pull their goalie, we might be okay. And then they net the third one, so you're like, all right, well, we got to keep weathering the storm because they have a little bit of momentum now. But the game ends 4-4. We go to overtime. I like the fact that they're doing full overtimes now. I think this might be a this year change. Maybe it was a last year change. I don't think we had any overtime games in the first round last year. So
yeah, I'm trying to remember the first round.
I know the old CCHA, it was the first round would still go to a shootout, I believe, and then the semifinals and finals would be where you'd have your full go overtimes.
Yeah, and I've only been to one other first round NCHC tournament, and that was I think St. Cloud was a 3 and playing Western as a 6, and Cloud won that probably 4-2 or something. It didn't really have a chance because Western wasn't as strong as they are now.
Yeah. And then so we get a face off in our offensive zone. So once again, we're at the far end of the ice because they switch ends for overtime like they do in the second period. So again, everything's 200 feet away from me. But we win the offensive zone face off. The puck gets over to Ethan Frank. He finds Drew Warad in the slot, and Warad just buries it because he was not willing to give up on his game-winning goal, because he would have had the previous game-winning goal if we'd been able to hold on and end it 4-3. But nope, he still gets the game-winning goal, sends us to Minnesota as a senior, and the place just exploded. It was a good time. It was a great weekend. And we get to play at North Dakota next weekend. So,
and I did see a cool thing. I don't remember if it was on Twitter or on Instagram. Probably on Instagram because I follow Western Hockey on there. They said any student who can find their way to Minnesota, they will pay for the tickets to get into the game. Which, yep. I mean, I think that's a pretty cool thing to do. Yeah, it costs money to get here and to stay, but if it's one little less cost, then that helps. Like any little bit helps, and it'll be fun to see Western fans walking around the Twin Cities.
Dude, I would so be there in a heartbeat if I was still a student, but no longer a student. I got this thing called a job, and got to schedule time off for stuff. So
yeah, you had to be an adult.
Yeah, but otherwise, I would have definitely freaking found like 4 friends. I would have camped in somebody's car. I didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
I would be there. I would be there for sure. I'd be there with face paint on. But yeah, so Saturday for you guys.
Saturday. Oh boy. St. Cloud. They came out exactly how we both thought they would come out, responding to a loss. They were flying. It was only 1-0 after the first period. Perbix scored 5:09 into the period, but shots were 20-5.
Jesus.
And I did the same thing. I had a little different seats. I was sitting up on the side, but still in the end that we shoot at twice. So I barely saw any hockey in my end for the first period and a half, pretty much. We were lucky to get out of there only 1-0. Fanti played. He played really well this weekend. Really solid. Lot better Saturday than he did Friday, but Friday the team was playing a lot better too. And then so we go into the second period, lucky to be down 1-0. And then minute 38, Cronulla scores even strength. It was kind of like, all right, well, this is how, here we go. And that second goal kind of kicked us into gear a little bit. It was still St. Cloud dominating the play, but everything was starting to come more and more to the team. Pretty sure Sandy, little fire under them. St. Cloud did hurt themselves though, 19-18. So, let's see my Minnesota math. Yeah, 32 seconds left in the period. Is that right? Nope, 42 seconds left in the period. Cronulla took a cross-checking penalty. I don't think we were able to run it out. I'm trying to remember if we had the full 2 minutes or if I think there was a bit of time left, and I was hoping we could get one on the PK at the end of on the PP at the end of the period. But that didn't really matter too much because 56 seconds in, Captain Cates got us on the board with a nice goal. And then not too much longer after 3:30, and Dominic James scored another power play goal. And that was kind of the theme of the weekend for St. Cloud, is the power play or the PK for them. Giving us power plays was not helpful to them.
Right.
And I know early on in probably the first half of the year, our power play was awful. It was one of the worst in the country, but it finally came on. The downer, though, was 11 seconds after James scored. Perbix got his second of the night for them to go back up 3-2, and it was like, oh boy.
Yeah, we were both miserable in our conversations. I think I got a little bit more excited when Western finally started to pull away, and I was like, oh, okay, we've tied it. We have the lead now. And then we had to just kind of wait out the third period, where you guys still needed the third period to be like, all right, please, for the love of God, just tie this.
Yeah, it was so bad, and I'm just trying to sit there and I will say props to the St. Cloud fans. Everybody, I was by myself, but everybody that I was around, I didn't expect anything less because we know it's going to be a good hockey game, but there's no real bad blood. They were super nice. I was talking with everybody around me. But finally, 17:03 of the period, Latteroot scored to tie it up. And then it became the battle of, okay, I know what happened earlier in this period. 11 seconds later, please, for the love of God, don't give one up. And then we actually, in the overtime, we ended up taking a penalty, 3:32, and Goat's got a tripping minor, and it was a tripping minor, and it was like, oh boy, all right, here we go. And St. Cloud had a really good power play. That's where Fanti, he really shined on that PK. And the defense did a pretty good job, but it was a stressful situation. And then finally, Cates, he ended up the play, of course, again, down away from me. So I'm trying to watch it from not quite 200, probably 190 feet away from where I was sitting. I think it was a turnover in the neutral zone, and we came in, and Cates drove to the net, and the video that I saw, it wasn't quite clear, but I think he was able to tip it in on the side, but I didn't know because the angle, I didn't see the puck in the net, but as they all started jumping up, then I jumped up. I was like, yeah, we won. So that was just over halfway through the first overtime.
Yeah, I told my wife, I was like, I'm prepared to sit here until 1 o'clock in the morning. Like, if we're just gonna go full tilt overtimes until this thing's resolved, I will. But I was so glad that we did not get through one.
Oh yeah, I was too. I was like, I was ready. I was like, I got time. All I got to do is go back to my hotel room.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I won't ever stop painting my face, but that stuff does not stay comfortable.
No, no.
You start sweating a little bit, and then it runs, and then it's just itchiness, and all you smell is face paint for as long as it's on, and you taste lipstick, and it's not the funnest time ever doing it, but I don't regret doing it anytime I've ever done it. But I was in it for like 5 hours on Saturday. I'm like, no, yeah, I'm okay. This is long enough. Well,
I was just a little worried about my heart in our game. It's like, oh boy.
I really like the matchups going into this weekend, though. I think whoever is actually in St. Paul at the XL Energy Center is going to get two really good games of hockey.
Mm-hmm.
The matchups seem extremely even for it being, in your case, seed 1 versus seed 4 or 5, not 4.
Yeah.
Because you guys were the only lower seed to advance, and then
two
and 3 versus Western and North Dakota. Like, I think it's just going to be really good hockey, honestly.
Yeah, and let's see. I know we won at least one against Denver. I'm trying to find our matchups against them.
Yeah, I think you guys are the team that ended their home winning streak, wasn't it? Was it you guys, or was it?
I know we beat them here. Okay, so we lost 5-0, and then we won 6-2 up in Duluth.
Yeah, you guys full split, and then you lost 3-5, and then won 3-2. And I think your win on February 12th was their first loss at Magnus Arena. Like, I'm pretty sure you guys were the first team to beat them on their home ice.
That could be.
So again, you're going into a series where, it was a full split during the regular season, kind of like you just saw with St. Cloud.
Yeah.
You're coming off of an emotional win because not only did you guys get revenge on the team that took home ice from you the week before, but it was a rivalry game. And you guys were able to put to death that you guys were the better team this year. So now you have to find a way to get up again and go after Denver, who, I think at least some of these guys have some respect, and for sure respect for each other, but there's some big games that have been played between those two teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, everyone's gone from the national championship. I believe that Denver won on both teams, but there's still that knowledge of, okay, we played each other in the national championship not too long ago. Denver won. We need to beat them in these series to move on. And there's a definite, it's not quite as much as we hate North Dakota, but even back from the WCHA days when Denver was, still good. I mean, they haven't really dipped down all that much, but all you constantly hear is Denver's winning, Denver's winning, Denver's winning. And it would just annoy the heck out of you, and you'd be like, we just got to beat Denver. We just got to beat Denver.
Oh, for sure.
So there's that fan base. And I do think it helps that it is in St. Paul, because it's only a 2-hour drive for UMD fans to get down. It's only a 1-hour drive if St. Cloud would have made it. I think it's probably a 5 or 6 hour drive for North Dakota fans. So you get the Denver fans and the Western fans. It's a little bit tougher for them to make it, but it should be a pretty pro UMD crowd.
Oh, I
But
agree.
Denver does travel well, and they do have fans in Minnesota for sure, especially with the hockey heritage that we have and the hockey players that we put out going out west to play Division 1 at Denver, um, or Air Force or wherever. So you have those families that have grown over the years that will be Denver fans. Uh, so they'll travel well, but just not as well as North Dakota and not as well as UMD, because the North Dakota fans are like an infestation of rats. You can't get rid of them.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was kind of thinking that looking at the Western Series because it's again it's two teams that split during the regular season. Um, the home team won every game for between these two teams. Western was able to get the sweep at Lawson, and then North Dakota took care of home ice, at the Ralph. Um, so coming in, this is a real rubber match, and it's on a neutral site, well as neutral as it can be, with the
Mm-hmm.
way that UND does travel. Um, hopefully, some of the Western students took advantage of that offer and are showing up, and as well as normal fans and alum and things like that. So hopefully they'll get a good turnout. But this is a team that has overcome a lot. Uh, Recently, they had most of these guys were still young when their season ended early, and then the first COVID year when they just canceled the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So and then they played in the pod, and then they had a quick exit. They had to play in North Dakota last year for
Mm-hmm.
the playoffs. Also, the thing is like I know the writer for the Grand Forks Herald or whatever paper he writes for that covers UND. He was mentioning that none of the UND players have experience going to the X for semifinal playoff hockey. Neither does Western.
Mm-hmm.
This is the third time that we've actually made it to Minnesota for the Frozen Face-Off. So it's two teams that don't have necessarily have experience being where they are, led by coaches who have a lot of experience in the world of hockey.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we do have a first year coach, but honestly, if you kind of look at Western's record, the last few times they've had a first year coach, they've made it to the finals in the playoffs. Uh, when Jeff Blashill was here for his single year, we made it to the finals and lost to Miami in the CCHA. The next year, the first year under Andy Murray, we made it back to the finals and we beat U of M to win the CCHA. So, and Frischweiler was a part of, I think, both of those teams, actually, as an assistant coach before him and Blash went to Detroit, or he got asked to come to Detroit with Blashill. So, he's coached in big situations. We have a team that's similar to UMD, and there's a lot of experience, a lot of older guys. We know the game that we can play, but we literally just have to play our style of hockey, and a lot of that comes down to how calm can we keep Brandon Bussey, and
Mm-hmm.
how much team defense can we play. And I don't mean like we need to 100% sell out in the defensive zone and play strict defensive hockey, but we need to play smart hockey in our own zone. And if you look at some of the way Western's played, games where we've won, we've played really solid, sound team defense. In a matter of like, we didn't chase pucks. We were aggressive when we were able to be aggressive, and it led to offensive opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
There's games where you could tell we wanted to be offensive, and it fell and kind of got us in our teeth because we were stuck in the offensive zone thinking too offensively, and we'd get beat getting back, and Brandon would get beat on a play that had we paid attention to and played the normal way that we play, we probably would have made. Um, but there's some really good. I want to say one of the games against St. Cloud State. It might even be near the end of the game. St. Cloud has just ridiculous offensive pressure, and Western's able to withstand it, fight it off. We get the puck clear, and like, I mean, we've literally like changed lines like twice in our own offensive zone, and Western's like just about to get a change, and somehow we end up putting the puck in the back of the net because we played real strong defense in our own zone, and we didn't chase the puck because you can kind of see it in certain power play situations, and I think I was telling you this during one of the games, the way that UMD, I think it was one of the Tuesday games against St. Cloud,
Yeah.
the way
Yep.
that UMD played their PK, and they were really strong in their positioning and knowing their assignments and rotating through those assignments, so you didn't get this wave. Like if you start getting your defense to make that wave where everybody's chasing the puck, and then you can see the goalie do it too, and they're all at one point. Everyone will be here, and the puck's going this way, or everyone's over here, and the puck's coming straight down the middle at you.
Mm-hmm.
So we really got to be aware of avoiding those situations, and then we just have to take care of the opportunities that we're given, because every team's going to make a mistake.
Yep.
It doesn't matter how good you are; mistakes are going to get made. It's how can you capitalize on them, but limit your own mistakes. Because throughout the season, in the 4 games they played, Western went 4 for 16 on the power play, and then we went. I think we gave up 3 for 16 or something like that. So we limited their opportunities as best we could. I mean, it was 2. We only gave up 2 power play goals against North Dakota all year. So we limited their power play opportunities, and capitalized on ours. And that's what you have to do against a team like UND, and with an experienced goalie like Driscoll.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really hoping, and I'm calling a Western UMD final with a Western championship for this weekend.
I'm hoping, because then I'll go, because by the time I would get off of work on Friday and everything, they always put UMD at the 4:00 game. I don't know what it is, but we're always the 4:00 game. But if UMD makes it to the final, then I'll head over to the X and watch that. I have a feeling they will, just because of that, not just because they're older, but that experience of guys winning the national championships on this, still on the team, guys having played in the championship for the Frozen Face-Off. They know what to do when it gets to tournament time. Even last year in the Frozen Four, yeah, they lost to the eventual national champions, but you lost to the national champions. It's you still made the Frozen Four. There's that experience, and there's something to be said for what Sandlin can instill in them and get them to understand and almost play a completely, not a completely different game or way, but in a completely different gear than what they have played. And I think that even played out in the third period towards the end of the second and the third period on Saturday, where it was, okay, you had your fun, like you did this. This is a 1-game playoff. Like, even though it wasn't, it would have been on Sunday. You got to play like it's a 1-game playoff. Like, if you lose, you're done.
Yeah.
And he got them in that mentality. They were able to pull it off, and they're able to do that time after time over these past few years. And I think that the older guys are going to help out the younger guys in their preparation, and just making sure that they don't try to take unnecessary risks. Take what's given to you, but don't force it, because that's when you get in trouble, is when you force it.
Oh, for sure. I do find it interesting that I feel like there's one matchup of, you have Denver UMD, where all the experience of finals and Frozen Face-Off appearances is at, and then you have 2 teams in Western and North Dakota who, like, neither one have any experience being in this building for this Frozen Face-Off, and it'll be extremely interesting to see how those 2 games compare to each other.
Hmm.
and then one winner's coming out of each. So it'll be interesting to see how even the championship game is played between the two teams who are one's going to be a more experienced team as far as the situation goes, but can that emotional high of being somewhere you've never been before be uh, manifested in a positive manner and be used um, to your benefit, um, in a matter of speaking, so that either Western or North Dakota, who I would prefer not win,
Yeah.
can find a way to beat a more experienced team.
And I think so. It's kind of funny. As I'm thinking about it, both games can go one of two ways, just for two different reasons. So the UMD Denver game can either be super low scoring, kind of a boring, tight defensive game because they have that experience, or it can be a little more freewheeling because look at the first series, it was 5-0 and 6-2. I mean,
Right.
they can both put up points. The Western UND series, so I lean more towards the defensive discipline one for UMDDU. Western UND, I lean more towards it's going to be kind of wide open and whatever because they don't have that experience that they're going to go out and just have at her and that. But I can also see the nerves getting to both teams in a sense, and like that excitement and that whole pageantry, and them kind of tightening up and not playing the cleanest but lowest scoring game where neither team, their mistakes going to be made, but nobody's going to be able to capitalize on them. So it's kind of funny thinking of those different dynamics, which you don't quite know which way is going to turn out. You can kind
Yeah.
of think of what you're going to do. Um, I think Western UND is going to be more freewheeling because they're going to, it's going to be, hey guys, go have fun. Don't think about this, whatever. And both teams, I do think UMD Denver is going to be tighter, but I could be completely wrong.
I almost think that um, I almost want to go the other way. I want to say that North Dakota Western is going to be a tight game because it's Western has so many guys that are seniors or grad students or gave up an opportunity to potentially play at the NHL level. Came
Mm-hmm.
back this year. A big group of guys. Maybe the biggest name on that list is Ronnie Addard. Made a decision that they weren't done and they weren't satisfied with how last year went. And they were coming back. And then you have the group of grad students led by Ethan Frank who made a similar decision that like we're not done. We're here to ride with our teammates. We want to do something special with them. Um, and they did that this year. I mean, there was a lot of history made on that team this year. Uh, and so maybe that kind of plays into it. Like you don't want to disappoint what you came back for, but at the same time, like you have to understand that you have to be loose enough to not
Right.
let the emotions of the situation overwhelm you, and you can't really be like, okay, so this is why we're here. It's go out, play a game with your buddies. Um, I mean, revel in the moment, enjoy it. Maybe before you actually start warming up, maybe go catch a period of the first game and just kind of
Mm-hmm.
feel out the arena and the atmosphere and the energy of the building. But when it comes time for puck drop in your game, know that it's time to suit up and go to work.
Yeah. And I I do think our game could be freewheeling. I don't expect it to go well with either coach if if it's more of a freewheeling game. Now, if it's 2-2 after one and they're kind of hanging in there, sure, but I could see maybe a period freewheeling, and then if it's still tied, then it's going to tighten up. But I don't expect a 6-2 or a 5-0 or 7-4 game coming out of that first one. I think it's going to be probably 2-1 or 3-2. Um,
I think
hopefully, but I that's just my bias. These ones are a little tougher to predict. I do think Western will beat North Dakota. Um,
it's gonna come down to special teams. I think both games are gonna come down to special teams, because all four teams are so evenly matched. If we do get a Western UMD final, those are two teams that are built very similar, and they've been compared to each other all year. Um, it's hard to really, North Dakota kind of exceeded my expectations just because of the way they were able to come together as a new group and get things done. Um, and Denver, I don't really get a lot of time to see Denver. They've been a high scoring offense most of the year, and it's really just limiting their opportunities and hoping that you can get them past their goalie, because they do have a strong goalie.
yes,
So a lot of offense. Um, like I think special teams will play a big part of it, and then just who can kind of play, whose defense can transition to offense well. Um, and I think Western's a team that's built to do that very well. We have a lot of defensemen that can jump into plays, and we have a lot of offensemen who play sound, solid defense. We have a lot of 200-foot players. Sassen's becoming one of those guys who's made plays in the defensive zone and literally gone right down the ice and scored a goal on his own. Ethan Frank has sold out blocked shots and managed to get behind the opposing defense and score goals. On the power play, we have a number of shooters. You have to account for, on the first power play line, you have to account for Michael Joyo at the blue line, because he's got a rocket that'll find that the hole in the ozone layer, and next thing you know, the puck's to the moon. Ethan Frank sets up in that right circle and just hammers the puck, and finds the back of the net. There's a reason he has 26 goals on the year.
yeah.
The second power play unit, Ronnie Addard. Dude's got a rocket ship strapped to the end of his stick, and he's going to be one of those guys who makes it to the next level and buries pucks on NHL goalies. Josh Basalt, sits on the other side across from him, and the second power play line is a really nice balance of like power and finesse. Is kind of how I've described it all year. Addard's the power guy. Basalt's the finesse guy. He'll give you a couple of dangles. He'll toe drag, and he'll find that spot that you didn't think was a spot, and he'll put the puck right past you. So, he's still looking for his first playoff goal. I think that's definitely one that could come this weekend. He does seem to have a propensity to score on North Dakota goalies, which is great for Friday.
Everybody too.
Exactly. So, hopefully he gets that one, and Ethan's able to continue his point streak in his stellar offensive year. So, I'm going to watch both games, and might be on here for a watch along for the Western North Dakota game. And then depending on the the shakeout of those games, we'll probably be live for the championship game too.
Well, you might be. I might be there.
So, well, if you're not there, then you can hop on here with me.
Yeah.
The nice thing though is, well, for me, not so much for you. You kind of hope that they have to win, or maybe you just decide to go anyway because the games are on CBS Sports Network.
I know. I have to. I've figured that out.
So, if you don't go, you might not be watching the game anyway.
Yeah, there is that.
The nice thing is, though, all four teams that are at the Frozen Face-Off are also going to be, no matter what happens this weekend, they're not done playing hockey just yet.
Yeah.
So they'll find their space in the stratosphere of the NCAA tournament. And honestly, it's kind of an important tournament as far as the bracket goes. I think I saw, anyone from at least between Denver, Western, and North Dakota uh, potentially could still hold a number one seed in a region. I saw somewhere that North Dakota really can't fall past like third. Like they won't be any lower or they can't fall past a two seed. So no matter what, they're going to be a one or a two. Um, I feel like Western's kind of in a similar spot. I really don't know how far you could say that we're going to fall. Um, if we don't make it to Saturday's game, or if we do, we lose on Friday or Saturday, like whatever. Um, but really, any of those three teams could still be a one, two, or three, and even possibly Duluth. I don't think Duluth was too far out of the top 10.
Well, we're number. I don't know about the pairwise, but as far as the poll goes, we're number 8 after this weekend.
Yeah, so I mean, uh, even they still may potentially have a shot at being a number one seed if they can pull off the win. Um,
And I just
yeah, they're ninth in the pairwise right now.
I just
So
look at curiosity. I'm thinking St. Cloud should get in as well, even though they did lose. We
yeah,
might have.
I think we have five. We have five. It's 1 through 5 of the NCHC are getting through to the next into the NCAA tournament. So St. Cloud will be there. Um,
And I think we might have another year of all 5 Minnesota teams being in there because Bemidji upset uh, Michigan Tech, and they are playing on Saturday um, against Mankato down there in Mankato, which could be tough. Mankato's in no matter what. I think Bemidji
yeah.
winning, they get in. So I think it's another year of all 5 Minnesota teams, which, maybe if we get lucky, we'll get what we wanted last year, where it's an all Minnesota Frozen Four.
We don't need to do that. We can have
Yeah,
at
yeah.
least we can have at least one team from Michigan. Hopefully, the team that wears brown and gold and not blue and maize or whatever stupid color they call it. Um,
As long as they're not from the East Coast, we're fine with it.
uh, you know, uh, but I think looking at it, this has to probably be the toughest conference tournament out there. You have 4 teams that are all within, essentially the top 10 of the pair, even of the pairwise. Minnesota says they're ninth. There's a 3-way tie for 6, so it's kind of weird how it all shakes out, or 4-way tie for 6, whatever it is. But it's such a strong conference.
Mm-hmm.
We have 5 of 16, 5 of 8 teams filling out the field of 16. So we're 5 of 16 teams. Over a quarter of the tournament is our conference.
Mm-hmm.
Of those, 4 of them are still competing this weekend for a trophy. So it's such a strong determinant factor into how the bracket shapes up. How who goes where, who plays who, and you literally can't count any of the 5 teams from this conference that are in the big tournament out from potentially being the champion at the end of the year.
And the best part about it is it's only going to get stronger because, like we've talked about before, kids are going to want to come play in this conference because they are playing the best competition. And when you're playing the best competition on a weekly basis and you stand out, teams are going to notice whether you're drafted or not. You can sign as an unrestricted free agent. I know a lot of UMD kids signed after they were done playing with various teams. It's definitely the place where the top talent is going to want to go. You're going to have your Mankato. BC is going to, and BU are going to draw, especially from the East Coast. because those are the two historic names. UMass is kind of on the rise, but even from the East Coast, we can get some kids here. I know I'm trying to remember which kid it was. We had a kid from New York. It was one of the our big guns a few years ago, um, but I can't remember which one he was. Um, but anyway, yeah, it just helps with getting the conference even stronger, and it'll help Miami and CC and Omaha get better because okay, maybe I'm not quite there, or the schools didn't recruit me, but these schools did. They think I'm good enough to play in this conference. Yeah, I'm gonna go.
Yep.
Now we won't ever see the whole conference in the tournament, but I mean, at some point you could make an argument for all 8 teams. I think
Sure. Oh, exactly. Oh, and then I did forget to mention that UND will be without Tyler Clevin. He'll be suspended for Friday's game after his third game misconduct of the year. So
Whoops.
missing a big piece there.
I think after 3 though, it's more than a whoops.
Yeah, and I think like that was where I was talking about that whole potential no call live, but uh, major penalty called after review. I think this was one of those situations where they actually made the change or made the call for it to be a major penalty plus a game misconduct based on some of the tweets I saw today about like, oh, they didn't call the penalty on the ice but they reviewed it. So I think that's one of those situations where it turns out to be unhelpful, well, depending on who you are.
Yeah, I think there's every fan's gonna have their gripe about one of those calls in general. I think there is a place for it, but only if it's like there's two guys behind the play and the refs aren't looking, which should never happen. There should always be one ref watching them, uh, and the guy whacks him in the back of the knee or something. But that these kids are too talented. I know emotions get the best of everybody, but they're too talented. They're too smart to have that happen. And if that were to happen, that's the ref's fault that he let it happen. It's not the kid's fault because you're always taught to have, you know, if you're the back ref, you're the last person out of the zone, except for obviously the goalie. You make sure everything is on the up and up.
Here's what I'm wondering: if some of these plays are a result of if the ref is skating down the ice or whatever and doesn't necessarily see the play, but maybe the lineman sees the play, and maybe this is how they're getting linemen to make more calls because a lineman can only call certain penalties, right?
Yeah, they
So they
can
can
call.
call like uh, an unsportsmanlike conduct, um, or like if something's directed at them personally, like if a
Mhm.
player throws his equipment at the referee or like spits on the referee or somehow manages to be disrespectful to the linesman, and
Mhm.
he can call a penalty for the disrespect to him.
Yeah.
Um, but I'm pretty sure like in the flow of natural plays, like they're not the ones who are calling the hooks, the trips, the slashes.
Yeah, they're
Um,
not paying attention to that.
they're just trying to pay attention to offsides, icing, and make sure that their hands don't get broken when they put the puck. They're trying to drop the puck.
Yeah.
Um, Fun fact about linesmen and referees on faceoffs is they used to actually have to set the puck on the ice. They couldn't drop it. So
Oh
the
man.
early days of the NHL, they had to physically put that sucker down there.
Yeah.
um, so yeah, so I wonder if that's how they're getting kind of not necessarily around that rule, but if it's allowing more eyes to watch the flow of the game and move towards potentially a safer game.
Yeah. It
But at the same time, like my brain just says, well, just give the linesman the ability to call penalties.
yeah. If that's it's a
If that's how you're using that new rule,
yeah.
but they can only be a major penalty or no penalty upon review, then just give the linesman the ability to call penalties and let him call minor penalties.
Yeah, and yeah, I think if you're gonna call the penalty, call it, then review it. If you talk about it and say, hey, what did you see? Um, but if the linesman sees it and the ref didn't, and I think if a kid gets injured, then maybe, but I don't know. It's a kind of a tough thing, but I think the linesman just goes up to the ref and says, "You screwed up."
Yeah, right.
But
And then before we do get off, I do want to go over some of the comments that we got. So Big Ben was our main chatter this week.
of course,
And he says, one game will be a full 3-period match. The other, I imagine, will be 2.5. There's stupid scroll thing is in my way. I can't read it now. Where'd it go? With teams feeling each other out. So we did kind of mention, that when we were talking about how we feel the games are going to go, just with the experience on the one side and the lack of experience on the other. So I can see his point. And then he said with the first half of the period being for feeling out. But both games are played between teams that have played each other 4 times this year. So they do have a little bit of knowledge on the other team. Both games are played from our rubber matches of season series. So that too. And then he said when they get to the final, likely a full up battle. It kind of depends on the teams. I mean, I know if it's Western UMD, I think.
I think that's it.
I think Western won 3 out of the 4. I think
so. I think
we swept at Lawson, and then we lost.
No, I think we split there. I believe. I think. Hang on, we'll figure it out.
I know we won in overtime. I think the second game in Duluth, or a shootout, but it wasn't a full win.
4-3 Western, and then 3-0 UMD.
Okay,
in
so
the first season in November.
So you swept, or you blanked us. That's right.
And then
I think you won, and then we won in like overtime or something. I think. Yeah. We lost 4-5 and then won 3-2 in OT. Okay, so I mean, basically a split there.
Yeah.
But we only got 1 win all year against Denver. So, like, no matter what, we've seen a team. We're gonna see a team for the 5th time. If we win,
right.
And if you win, I think it's the same way.
And that was part of the surprise that I had this weekend with 4 of the 6 going to overtime, but the Friday game, 3 out of the 4 regular season going to overtime, and then 2-0 game, a 5-2 ass kicking of St. Cloud. That surprised me.
I mean, the score surprised me a little bit, but I definitely was expecting Duluth to come in there and play the way they did. And I kind of told you that before. That's why I had, you guys winning games 1 and 3. But you were just able to respond quicker in game 2 and make sure that game 3 wasn't needed. So
yeah.
But yeah, all 4 teams are definitely good. I think no matter what, we're gonna have a really good weekend of hockey.
Yeah, I think the fans that go, they should be treated. If you're going to the first game and not planning on the second, I'd stay for the second. I don't see why you wouldn't stay for 2, especially because it's a Friday.
Yeah, for sure. A Friday, and Saturday's only 1 game anyway, so you can sleep in Saturday.
Yeah, exactly. Cure your celebratory hangover.
Right.
And even if your team loses, go watch that championship game because it is the best conference in the nation. You're going to see good hockey no matter what.
You're potentially going to see a team that's going to go on to play for the national title.
Mm.
In some regards, all 4 teams are going to be playing for a national title next weekend. But you know what I mean. It's a team that has a high potential of making it to the Final Four.
Yeah.
So I think that about does it. We're a little bit right at that hour mark. We'll try and get together next week to recap this weekend and look, and we'll have the full breakdown of the bracket. So maybe next week it'll be more of a bracket show as opposed to just an NCHC show. I know that we don't really pay too much attention to non-conference teams, but there's a few that we know about. So
yeah, there's a couple, but other than that, the East Coast, we don't know anything.
So until then, anyone who stopped by the stream, appreciate you. This will find its way to YouTube at some point. I think I'm gonna try and wait and get it up tomorrow, instead of rushing to post it the night we record it. So this might be up Wednesday as opposed to Tuesday night. And good luck to all 4 teams. I think it'll be UMD 3-2. And I'm going to say Western 4-2. Western gets an empty net goal to push the lead to 2. But Denver's going to press hard to get an empty net goal. They're not going to get it past Fancy, but they're also going to... UMD's going to struggle to really get a chance to get it on net to push both games to 4-2. I think those are going to be the scores, though. And then we'll have Western UMD in the finals, and Western's going to win 5-3.
All right.
That's my guess. That's my call.
I think it's 4-3 UMD. I think it is a little bit. It opens up a little bit to start, but then it locks down. And then I'm probably thinking. I think 3-2 Western. I don't. I think it's going to come to a late goal, and then 9-1 UMD. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, stranger things have happened.
That's probably about a 3-2, 4-3 game as well. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
I predict Ethan Frank throughout the course of the weekend will have 4 points. If we make it to the Saturday game, he'll have a 4-point weekend somehow. At least an assist and a goal Friday. Maybe 2 goals Saturday against UMD. I think is how that's going to shake out. That's the gut feeling I have. So, this could be a very good guess, or these could be very silly predictions, and this will just be laughed at later in life. So, either way,
mean next Tuesday.
Yeah. Well, maybe there just won't be a show next Tuesday, and I won't have to relive that, and there'll be no proof of this. I think that's going to do it for tonight's show. We can be followed on Twitter. Our personal handles are there. The show has a Twitter handle. It is, well, I have it here, at GoalHornsandFightsongs. No O's after the O in goal. So GoalHornsandFightsong. Because you're only so many characters, and you got to figure out how to make shit fit.
I'm proud of you.
So that is why the Twitter handle is what it is. But if you feel up to it, give it a follow. Tweet at us if you feel inclined to do so. If not, that's cool too. Thanks for hanging out. I think there's going to be at least on my channel, there might be a brief hiatus, and I might be on again streaming just some video games, either with Mike or without Mike. We'll see what happens. Until the next time we're on, have a good one, and hope everybody stays safe, has fun playing hockey, and we get something to talk about. And release this one. And there is the Twitter handle for the show. So once again, anybody who hung out in chat, appreciate you. Thanks for listening. Anyone who finds this on YouTube later, thanks for listening. If you want to give it a like or subscribe, whatever, that's up to you. If you want to give it a thumbs down, do your thing. Whatever. Won't hurt my feelings any. I'm a big boy. Again, if you are on Twitch, give it 10, 15 minutes. I might be switching over. If not, I'll catch you again at some point. Mike, thanks for joining me, and we'll chat again soon.
Thanks again, Wes.
Later.